space between the your reflection at the intersection of love and struggle, carrying the weight of soul like crates at the DJ's side. I'll stand up next to a mountain and shout it down from the top of my lungs, echoing off steel canyons for generations with magnetism, mysticism, alchemy, a breathing manifesto, the bounce in your root chakra, energy to matter, matter to energy, we, feeling we, funk version trading samples of you for pieces of me, the collage made with their refuse that now you can't refuse, the proof, the force, the truth, that time and space are not linear but a sphere, so wherever I am here, I am hip-hop, posted up front to back, pushing for the top and always digging the scene with a b-boy lean. Thank you very much. See you on Wednesdays, facebook.com/BackpackFiles.
Yes, not only is he an amazing poet, he is also a one-man band. Following reasons you should buy his book. I own it, I've read it, it's very good. Let's see, coming up next. I number these things, but I never go by the numbers, so I don't know why I even bother doing this. Let's get Amy David up here. Yeah. About quality and stuff here, right? Come on. Yeah.
Short mic. That'll do. So I was called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah on June 10th, 1995. And the Haftorah that week was from Judges, and this poem begins with a quote from that portion. But Manoah's wife said to him, "Had the Lord meant to take our lives, he would not have accepted a burnt offering and meal offering from us." Judges 13:23. In Basra. The target sits before you saying, "Take this, eat." Take the orange carved gutless and stuffed with sweeter pulp. Take the fattiest part of the lamb. Take the cocoa dotted with salt. To refuse is to have no tongue. Perhaps you have a preference for velvet. Perhaps you have a yearning for the inside of a shell or a cozy stone of a rabbit's foot run through your fingers. Will it be music? Name that tune. The deep moan of the tuba and the oboe's melancholy hum or the sprinkling of a flute. Tell me what gift you will not deny. Let me hand you an endless pine bough and tulips left honeyed by the bees. Do you know that the nose is the closest organ to the brain? Maybe you opt for the odalisque or see all things in a stricken arabesque, but surely you want, surely you are no angel of death or gun-toting Buddha. Every one of you thinks red, white, and blue, thinks Semper Fi, thinks he is not for sale, correct, for payment in cash. But what about electric screens, or an end to them, the brush strokes of illumination, hot stones at 2-inch intervals down your back? A hummingbird, its tinny song, its gasping feathers, its single bite of flesh. Look, the last embers have sighed. Come closer and take off your shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, hanging out back in 1995. So that was my Haftorah portion. My Torah portion was called Neso, and this is just a little something called Neso in 7 limericks, or how I became a Jewish adult. This is Numbers 4:21 through 7:89. 1. God speaks of the family Gershon. I'm so tired of hearing them moan. Let them carry the curtains. That's easy, I'm certain, and pray that they leave me alone. 2. Turns out the Merari have it worse. God's edicts are getting perverse. Carry all the heavy stuff, and if that ain't enough, pay a quarter each time that you curse. 3. It's now time for God to present the rules for a ritually pure tent. Get rid of the lepers and the moral missteppers and the tribesmen behind on their rent. 4. If a man wants to be a Nazir, he must pledge not to cut off his hair. He must be unwed, and if his mother drops dead, he must flee her to save his career. 5. The Gershon get a third of the herd, while the Merari are suddenly preferred. They get most of the beasts for serving the priests, and the Kohath get the proverbial bird. 6. The tribal leaders each bring the same gifts, but to make sure none gets the short shrift, the text's overdone, recounting each one, and setting attentions adrift. 7. There's more of the repeating dilly-dally, leading up to a long final tally of silver spoons, lambs, bulls, and rams, and angels thrown in for the finale. It's a really boring Torah. I mean, not that there are boring things in the Bible, but it's I can. Right price. All right. So finally, this is something that I wrote for the Encyclopedia show a few years ago on hell. Gehenna, the Jewish purgatory, is not that different from a Phoenix retirement community. Both are home to huge numbers of wrinkly Jews who will probably be gone by the end of the year, and who try to justify their surroundings by walking around insisting, it's a dry heat. Gehenna is where some souls go for a slight correction. Phoenix leads the nation in chiropractors. Gehenna was once thought to be adjacent to a perpetually flaming heap of unclean bodies. Phoenix is adjacent to Arizona State University. Gehenna is for the totally hopeless. Phoenix has the Cubs in spring training. In Gehenna, the extremely wicked are punished 6 days a week. Phoenix is where they do that to Latinos. Both places reserve the Sabbath day for playing mahjong. While it's not really a place I'd like to visit, sorry grandma, and other grandma, and step-grandma, and half-grandma, and other grandma, Gehenna is really pretty mild when you compare it to what the Catholics made it into. All that fire and brimstone, spiritual estrangement, eternal torture, it was enough to scare James Joyce out of the priesthood. And anyone who has read Ulysses knows that Joyce is one sadistic bastard. Those tricky Catholics did the same thing with Lent. A one-day fast for Yom Kippur wasn't enough for them. They had to go and make it into a full month of giving up something you love, like caffeine, or showers, or religion. For centuries, we've had Purim, a holiday for getting drunk until you can't tell your right hand from your left. The Catholics renamed it St. Patrick's Day and converted thousands of Lincoln Park residents in one fell swoop. But two can play this game. We can take the Catholic traditions and make them cooler. Let's start with communion. No more of these tasteless, dry wafers. We're going for tasteless, dry tabs of LSD. Nobody's going to be passing around a cup of backwash wine in my communion. We'll bust out the full handle of Jim Beam. And saints, that's a great idea right there. I want someone to pray to when I can't be bothering the big guy all the time. If we want to one-up the Catholics, we'll put Jews on beatification fast track. We won't even wait for them to die. St. Rom of Chicago, please bring hail upon the city that it might destroy every stoplight camera along Western Avenue. We'll cover the backs of our cars with magnetic whales swallowing magnetic fish. We'll elect our own pope and give him an even bigger hat. We'll turn confession into a series on VH1. Okay, so maybe religion isn't meant to be a competition. But just in case it is, remember, I'm on the chosen team.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I love Amy David and why she has done, Nationals, Woman of the World Poetry Slams, independent something slams, all kinds of stuff like that. I was gonna use the CR star P word, but we're in church, so I'm not going to. But yeah, that's why she's freaking awesome. So give her a round of applause. Come on. Let's see. Okay, maybe just to tone things down a little bit, we'll bring up a friend of mine. He was actually a monk for 8 years and is a poet to this day. Joshua Ben Warner, where are you?
Yeah, so it's true. I monked it up for 7 whole years. And this first poem that I'm going to read to you is probably represents what was the beginning of the end of that period of my life. This is called The Love Song of a Celibate Man. It poured for a week, leading up to my trip to North Carolina, where the Religious Sisters of Mercy were hosting a shared day of classes. In theory, storms are an opportunity to acknowledge that I'd given up marriage and come to the monastery so I could walk through the deluge as Noah had, with God alone. In practice, the clouds made me see the empty hallways by their dusty corners first and realize how much my flesh objected to the fact that in 4 years I'd only been intimately touched by raindrops. Normally I tell you that writing a poem's like getting a love note from God. Well, I believe it when it's sunny out, but by the second wet Sunday, my words came across as verbalized denial and nothing more. It's through the absence of eyes that God gets the ego-supplied eye to die. If God has no gaze and no verbs but my own, that Sunday it seemed we had both turned our faces, made rhyming the reason to keep from confronting the truth. All tenderness aside, no wife would ever look at me reproachfully or slap me when I'm being a jackass. Yeah, it's what I signed up for. But just then I'll be damned if I wanted it. When the time came, the sisters in North Carolina couldn't possibly have been better hostesses. In the late afternoon, they allowed me to tour the home they'd established for the disabled. I was born with cerebral palsy, so spending time with its residents was like looking at myself. Before you start thinking me comfortable with that, I'll confess that I always hated mirrors. All they ever showed me was my own twisted gait. Growing up, I maintained that I'm more than my body as a matter of faith. As a result, in adulthood, I know how important is keeping my eyes on the noses of the world's blonde bombshells. I want them to know that they're women, not objects, and worth more than the sum of their curves. I have a whole history of issues like this, and I walked into that home knowing it. On the floor of the third room, a basically non-verbal handicapped woman lay on an exercise mat in positions designed to stretch her tight muscles. A nearby physical therapist said her name is Jenny, and I heard her just barely, occupied as I was with kneeling and realizing I'd been rejecting myself most of my life. I'd taken it lying down, then called the whole thing therapy. Jenny didn't know how helpless I felt right then, and thank God it allowed me to stay focused on the need to see something deeper in her than the twisted physicality she exhibited. I didn't know for certain, but I figured it might have been a while since Jenny'd been touched by anyone not being paid to do it. So I looked her in the face, smiled and reached out, gently touching her cheek. She snorted, which surprised me. Then she grinned and laughed, and that was all. All right. Usually my verse is shorter than this. Let me end by speaking to what's important. Jenny, I started this poem for myself. I'm finishing it for you. This is called Prayer Upon Leaving the Monastery. You said, stop doing shots in the dark and pretending I sent them to quench your thirst. And I heard, so I went and I learned to beg sun. I tipped my head back, and I let out the loud in my whisper. But that doesn't affect the cynic inside me, who muttering ruckus will constantly ask what an open ear's for, and I love nothing more than for him to get quiet and securely behind me. You know, I've forgotten, maybe you can remind me, are the dark roads the ones for which you first designed me? Or am I simply pissed, missing street signs for kicks and deliberately losing my way? Look, help me to get through the day, and for fuck's sake, come find me. Thank you kindly for the fine way you led me from solitude, but my hand is still hollow. Who'll do the holding, the swallowing of days as they're poured with me? Now you could claim that my wallows just linger deprived of its drink, but I think that I'll stay till you hear what I say, and you answer, enliven, and guide me. And I'll do one more short one if you have the patience. Thank you. This is called Vespers. Blessed are those who have quietly noticed what most can't be bothered to see. I heard once that drunks in recovery often surrender their dried-out anxiety to things like the street lamp aglow by their Tuesday night meetings stoop. When life's at its darkest, the hoops of belief I can make myself jump through seldom get lighter than that. The one who made the universe, who was crucified, died and was buried, he tarries in streetlights' heights, behind runaway cats, behind college student call to action lines. As frequently as I can, I need to admit this. The one I search so rarely for, he's there, and waits to bear the paperweight. If I can't pull off praise, let me pay him attention. A lampost's worth mentioning here. It can't help me hit bottom. It can only be near me. The one who was, who is, and ever shall be. When I gave up, he held me. He held me up, see, when the most I could do was advertise all that I'm missing.
Lord, won't you make it right? Be working in the morning, be working in the evening. If I wasn't working, Lord, I wouldn't be eating. I just be sweating in the day, dreaming in the night. Sweating when I'm dreaming, Lord, won't you make it feel alright? There's a poem that comes after that part, but that poem is terrible. I'm not going to read that poem. I'm going to talk to you, because apparently I have 7 to 8 minutes. And the poem that I brought is 3 minutes. Notice, I sing that song and in there, I say the word Lord. This is about faith. I find faith in music. I'm currently in love one guy. Right on, brother. Currently in love, and this love was forged in the blues. More music. So, I listen to these old school cuts. I listen to Motown. I listen to like Negro spirituals. And I recently thought about how many times the Lord is invoked. And it got me thinking there must be this inherent link between the Lord and music. I'm not a Christian. I was. Christianity was cool, but it wasn't for me. But I grew up with Christianity. That's what I knew. And I believe somewhere in Sunday school, some pulpit, someone told me to open my mouth and make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Music. Joyful noises in the Lord. Sometimes life is hard. You feel like you're trapped. He got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. Got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. When I threw away the key, Lord, come on down and rescue me. Got me locked up in his cage. Got me shackled by my feet. Got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here. And Lord, 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 see I'm crying not to cry. Lord, give me wings so that I can fly. Got me shackled by my feet. They got me locked up in this cage. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here, dear Lord. Did you catch it? The Lord was in that one too. Lord, music. That's my joyful noise. So, I said I wasn't a Christian anymore, and I'm like digging that, because when you say, sorry, I'm not a Christian anymore, people are like, ooh, what are you? And sometimes I kind of want to mess with them and be like, I practice Gehenna or something. Like I would just say some random word, and they were like, wow, you're so spiritual. And it would make me ask, like, so was I not spiritual when it was just Jesus? If it's not something that everyone's heard of, that's what makes it spiritual. And I think that's garbage. I was in the military shortly, and I can't swim. I joined the military, I joined the Navy, and I can't swim. Yeah. I remember the petty officer, he said, how many of you here can't swim? And like half the room raised their hands. And then he said, outstanding. My next question is, well, why would you join the Navy if you can't swim? And everyone's me being the smart ass that I am, I say, well, petty officer, I don't expect the ship to sink. That was the wrong thing to say. When I said I don't expect the ship to sink, I guess I was showing some sort of faith in, I don't know, naval engineering technology, I suppose. But God, the Lord, the Orishas that I worship in my situation, decided to show me about that sinking ship. Because when I got out of boot camp, I never saw a ship. I was on land. I watched all my little shipmate friends get on the ships and go away. But that's not the story I want to tell you. I was in the military, couldn't swim. But of course, you have to show you can swim to get out of boot camp. And every day, believe it or not, I wasn't as fat as I am now. But I had a little buoy thing going. And I hit my water every day and I sank like a stone every day. Thrashing, help, every day. So well, you can't get out of boot camp until you learn to swim, so you're gonna come to extra swim practice every day. So every day I went to swim practice. And I saw people get it eventually. Took them 3, 4, 12 times, but they got it. I just didn't get it. And I said, well, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna quit the Navy. I'm from Illinois. I'm from Chicago. I know where I'm at. There's a metro train right there, and I can walk out these gates, and I'm done with the Navy. Unlike some of these people were like, they were from Texas, and they were like, I want to go home. I'm like, sucks to be you. I'm gonna take a metro train. So that's it. I packed my bag. I'm walking out the door. There's a gate like 20 feet away from me. And before I got to the gate, there was the chaplain's office. Something, or someone, told me, go into that chaplain's office and talk to the chaplain. So I walk into the chaplain's office. I said, hey, can't swim. I ain't gonna learn to swim. I'm out of here. I know where I'm at. I'm getting on that train and I'm done with the Navy. He said a bunch of Christian things. I don't remember them all. But the final thing he said, he was like that kind of Southern Baptist preacher, black guy. He said, wait. Jesus told me to tell you, if you go take that test tonight, you gonna pass. Jesus, chaplain. Did he just send you an email, Jesus? Jesus just sent you an email and said, I'm gonna pass the test right. Is that right, chaplain? So, me being me, I'm like, I wanna see this. Jesus is gonna make sure that I pass the test. So, I put my bags back in the barracks. I went to the swim test. I'm like, let's go. I'm ready today, petty officer. He's like, that's right, Piggy. I'm like, no, apparently Jesus is gonna make sure I pass. And he's like, whatever it takes. So I said, all right, Jesus, let's do this. And I jump in the water, and I hit the water, drowning like I do every day. And he comes and saves me. The guy, the petty officer comes and saves me like he does every day. And so we're all standing in this sad line, and he's like, Thomas, you passed. Smith, you passed. Peterson, you passed. Pickett. And I was like, and he looks at me and says, yeah, get out there, you passed. And I literally said, Jesus? So for the next 3 or 4 months, I was that guy. Have you heard the good news about Jesus? Hey, it is good morning. He woke us up. Hello, I love him. Do you? I was that guy. I was straight up Jesus freak for 3 months. Until my appetite for heroin came back. And I got in a car and I drove from Norfolk, Virginia back to Chicago, Illinois, because I didn't know where to get heroin in Virginia. But I knew where to get it in Chicago. And I went back. And I relapsed. And that's when I said, whoa, what happened? I thought Jesus had my back. I was confused, I was scared. Lordy, Lordy, can't you see? Lord, tell me what the devil done to me. Lord, tell me, I used to pray every day, still. Lord, now the devil in my way. I don't think you hear me, Lord, if you cry. Lordy, Lordy, can't you see? Can you hear me now? Lord, if you cry. What the devil done did to me. Lord, let me tell you, I used to be a warrior. Lord, let me now say, all I'm saying is sorry, sir. That's why I just keep on crying. I'm gonna just keep on swinging the hammer. Hey, Lord, can't stop all that crying tonight. Whoa, hey, I'm gonna just keep on Jesus in all 3 of them. And so someone asked me, what you know about faith? And I'm like, I know I wrote a poem called Faith once. I find faith in the music. I find faith in blues. I find faith in my ancestors. I find faith in love, real, true love, the most purest love there is. I find faith in parchment farm chain gangs, that melancholy melody under this Mississippi sun. I find faith in, oh, hey, Mary, don't you wait on me, oh, I might not show it. I find faith in the most unlikeliest of places. I found faith in a shoe once. It's a hilarious story. Let's share a joint. I'll tell you about it. So that's that piece. Yeah, I got it. So I'm gonna, if you don't sit your ass, you got a piece called Faith. If you will sit down and let me handle it, I got this, Faith, I got it. What you gonna do? Greg, sit. Have faith that I'm gonna do it. I gotta get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. This ran a little later than I thought, and I have another obligation I need to get to. But I just want to tell all of you, everyone is amazing that got on this stage. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, clap for yourself. You deserve it. Thank you for sharing your gifts with me, your words with me. Charles West, get ready for it. I'm going to hound you until the end of your days about this pig, which is the microphone. So get ready. You're going to hear randomly, speaking to the pig. I'm going to say that. I just want you to get ready for it. So, I have this poem called Faith. A lot of people have heard it. It helped me win semi-finalist award in the Gwendolyn Brooks Open Mic Awards last year. And when I wrote it, all I knew was Christianity. Now I am a student of Ifa. What's Ifa? What's Ifa? Ifa is a traditional African religion. A lot of people don't know the word Ifa. They know the word Santeria. They know the word voodoo. Some people know the word Palo. So the thing with Christianity, with me, was though sometimes Jesus helped me pass the swim test, or helped me get the job, and this, that, and the other. That's cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. But I always felt off practicing what I practice now. I feel completely on. There's no doubt. So, although when I wrote this poem, I practiced Christianity, I think I was actually writing it for when this moment came. I've asked the question, what is faith? Until my tongue is dry like Sahara. I only wonder if faith can be distilled and bottled. Is it found in dreadlocks or receding hairlines? What does it look like? Is it a plastic bag flying in an angry wind? A sweat stain that resembles a savior? Maybe it's personal. Does it smell like cinnamon? Does faith have a help?